So welcome to this Did You Know session. We're going to look at how you can manage virtual services in BlazeMeter. So we have a virtual service here, as you can see. It's called sample service and it's currently deployed. We're going to show you how you can modify the configuration of this service. So the first thing to do is to stop the service. So we just click on the stop button. That will stop the service from running. Once the service is stopped, we then have the option to make changes to the service configuration. Now, as you can see here, the first thing you can do is you can modify the name of the service. You can also change the location. So in the location field, we show the public and our private locations, and we can change the location of this service. We can update the description. Now, once this is done, we can click Save and redeploy the service. So we're moving this service from the US East to Sydney, Australia. Now, when that completes, we'll get the updated endpoint. Now that doesn't always change, depends on where you're moving the service to. But in this case, we're moving it from the US to Australia. And as you can see, we've now got a new endpoint. So as well as adding those properties on a virtual service, there's also something called configuration. So as you can see in the drop down here, we have different configurations and we're using development currently. Now these are things that are defined at the workspace level. If we click on the configurations tab, you can see we've got UAT and development defined here. If you click plus, you can add a new configuration, and the configuration is a collection of properties. So these could be labels. So in this case, we're going to have like a port number. It could be a URL. It could be anything you want to use across virtual services. We can also use certificates. You can see here we've got an environment and a label defined in the UAT and development, and we can use the little clipboard icon to copy the actual parameter value for that. So what I've just done is I've now got that parameter value. You can see when we click on the drop down that new configuration is available to us. And if I look at the transaction we're using and we look at the response, you can see we've got this config.label. Basically, whichever configuration we're going to use, we're going to take the label value and replace it here. So that's our response. Now if I save this and we redeploy our mock service, and then what we can do is however we change the configuration, we can affect the response. So as you can see here, if I go to that endpoint and we just click refresh, it says development. If I change the configuration to UAT, we update our service, and then we do the same thing. We hit exactly the same endpoint in the same way. We'll get whatever value comes from that configuration. Now these configuration values can be used across our virtual services. We're also just showing it here in a response. You can see there, if I refresh this, we've now got UAT because we changed that configuration for our service. So as you can see, it's now quick and easy to update our virtual services, to change the names, the locations, to use the configurations to actually configure different values to use across services within your workspace. So what we've focused on so far is updating a running service. We can also manage the services within BlazeMeter. So you can see in the asset catalog, these are our services, and we can click on the export button to take an export of that service. Now that export contains the transactions and the data model. So if we want to then import that to a new service, we can go and add a new service. We're going to call ours Did You Know. That will create an empty service definition inside the virtual service manager. We can then click on the import for that newly created service. As you can see, it's empty. We go to the import. We then point to the zip file that we just exported. That will then import all of the transactions relating to that service and the data entity. Right, so when that's loaded, we'll just do a quick refresh of the screen. And what you'll see on the right hand side is, as well as the transactions, we've also got the option to select the corresponding data service. When that's assigned, all the data entity that were defined for this service is also now available. So we can now move these services, import them, export them very easily. So with that, for more information, please go to blazemeter.com. You can sign up for a free trial. We have blogs and our BlazeMeter University that contains lots of courses on BlazeMeter and also open source tools. Thank you.